Hello, my friends. I'm just going to double check my mic. I want to make sure that it's on the highest setting. Let's see. Yes, it was. How wonderful. How wonderful. Hold on, I wish I could get my head higher. Oh, shit. Hold on. One second. I wasn't exactly planning this live. All right, let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Yep. We're good to go. All right. Oh, hello, my friends. So I always have an intention before I jump on. And my intention tonight was strictly to show up as your friend. I'm not going to feel like a teacher tonight. I'm really just here to soothe you. I'm really just here to be like a Tylenol for you, to make the pain go away, even if it's just temporary. But hopefully it's one of those truly healing Tylenols. Think of it as an elixir. And hopefully by the end of this, you're going to feel like all those wrinkles on your t-shirt have been smoothed over. All right, so let's get rid of these speed bumps on the road for all of us. So my intention tonight is to make you feel seen. My intention tonight is to make you feel acknowledged, to make you feel honored as a soul, and to know that you are not alone. And that's precisely why I titled it, You Are Not Alone, Starseed, because you're not. Because we all go through this. No one is exempt from this ascension process. Everyone has to go through very difficult initiations in order to vibrate themselves into a higher dimensional location. So let's give it one more minute and then we will begin. Okay, so, all right. So I've been feeling everyone really palpably this entire week. I myself have been feeling a lot this entire week. It's been an emotional roller coaster of a ride, to say the least. I think that's an understatement. There's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, a lot of peaks and valleys, a lot of ups and downs. So it's truly been like a sound wave that goes like this, it spikes, and then it goes all the way down. And so it's been really, really intense this week. Very heavy, very like the word that kept coming up for me was blah. It's very blah. It's the blahness. There's been a blahness in the air. There's been almost like a depressive quality in the air, a heaviness, a loneliness, a craving for affection and connection, a longing for communication and intimacy. There's been so much of that. It's been very blah, very meh, very, am I dead yet? So I'm here tonight to connect with all of you as a means to reassure you that everything, my friends, is on schedule. Everything is right on schedule. Please believe that. Now, as I've mentioned, there's been a lot of purging. It's felt like you're that caterpillar in the chrysalis. Thank you so much for the donations, by the way, you guys. Julia, thank you. Thank you, Summer Sunshine. Oh, what a lovely name. Is that your real name, Summer Sunshine? That is dope. I love that. I love that so much. And if it's not your real name, it's still dope. Thank you, Stephanie. So, It's felt like you're in this you're this caterpillar in this chrysalis, and you're aggressively banging up against this cocoon. And you're like, just kill me already. Just, I'm done. So one of the things that you've probably been feeling is that when you step out of your house or your apartment, it almost feels as though you're in between these invisible fences, or there's an invisible fence between you as a singular individual and the world. Like, I'll be driving around and I see people eating out, and I'm like, they're so close. They're literally 10 feet away. But my guides aren't letting me eat out with friends. They're just like, you're not in this world anymore. You're in a different dimension. So it's been feeling like you're in between these invisible fences, and you're like, I wish I was like a human right now who could just play and have fun. And yet you feel like you're in this dream that just never ends. It just keeps going and going and going, like an Energizer dream bunny, you know? Let me grab my charger, because I do this all the time. I'm so sorry. 1 second. I'll be quick, y'all. I'll be quick. All right, I'm back. So again, it's been feeling like you're in this dream, and it's almost like a nightmare, but it's not a nightmare because it doesn't feel bad, because you know you're exactly where you need to be. But at the same time, you're like, is this a dream? And then it feels like a nightmare, and then it feels like a dream again, and then it feels like a nightmare again. So it's like a ping pong match. So my point is, I wanted to drop in with all of you tonight just to remind you, not, I repeat, do not, okay? Do not, in all caps, do not open up unnecessary timelines. What is a timeline? A timeline is a potentiality that is brewing in the field of existence. And so often we're like, let me press that button and open it. And guess what happens? You open a timeline, you re-invite or revisit things of your past or things that could have been part of your future. And you're like, let me try that again. That looks fun. And then it ends up working against you. It ends up working against you because you were trying to control things, because you weren't allowing this transformational process of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, the metamorphosis, metaphysical. Okay, I just got that out. That was really good. The metamorphosis, the metaphysical transformation to occur within your DNA system. When there's an acceleration taking place within your system and things ramp up energetically and emotionally, and there's this intensification of what you're feeling, and you can't really shake it off, it's unshakable, and it's also unmistakable, you're like, you're right. When that happens, it is something to celebrate, to rejoice, because it means that you're on the verge of something massive. It means that your piñata is about to pop open, that it's going to bear all these gifts upon you. But so often, because the energy is so intense, that we're like, I need a Kit Kat break. This is a lot right now. So you call an ex, or you call a friend that you're really not really fond of, or you think about, you start going through, it's like you start fishing for something in your mind, and you go through all the different people in your directory or in your mental address book, and you're like, ooh, that'll do. Let me reach out to these people. So then you open up a can of worms. You open up an old relationship or a potential relationship that you find yourself in for months upon months upon months, only to find yourself back at this point that you're in right now, because you start to realize that you made a mistake. Now, I'm not saying you should ever regret anything. because there's not really true harm in doing that, in being naughty, in being mischievous, in being, I don't know, lonely and opening up these timelines. But do they create unnecessary layovers? Yes, they do. My guides call them layovers. So when you take a flight, you can have 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops. And so often we go for the 3 stops. We're like, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to go there. And then before you know it, you have a situation on your hands. And it's not pretty. And what you're basically signaling to the universe when you do this is, universe, this ascension, this acceleration is too much for me. So I'm going to stop it in its tracks, and I'm going to go sidetrack myself or distract myself with people, places, and things that are not actually meant to be in my life, that are not actually meant to be in your life, okay? And then your ascension is delayed. It's prolonged. It's stretched out. So although it might feel highly uncomfortable right now and highly unpleasant right now, believe that you can handle all of it, because you can. Because if your system is processing so many updates, so many software updates, and you were running on Windows XP and now you're ready for the newest version of the OS, then it means that the universe thinks you're equipped enough to go through that transformation. So if you can imagine that there's all this activity going on in your system and you're being fast-tracked, that is a gift from the universe. Why on earth would you want to pump the brakes and say, universe, I can't, this is too much? So on one hand, you say you want love. On one hand, you say you want the bigger house. On one hand, you say you want to travel more. On one hand, you say you want to attract this and this and that and that and that. And then when the universe is speeding up your internal process, you object to it. You're like a judge. Object. So wait, you mean to tell me you want this and that and the other? But then when the universe actually hears your request and responds appropriately, now you want to stop it? Because the emotions are too intense? Because you're running high on emotion? No. This is what we need to look at. And by the way, I know it. I hear someone saying it's not simple. I know it's not simple. That's why I'm saying if you have a slip up or a hiccup or whatever, don't beat yourself up. But this is why we have community, so that we can be together telepathically and stay connected to the heart. I want to remind you something. The heart is connected to the divine will. And that's the teaching I want to discuss tonight. You have the divine will and you have the free will. The free will is going to unnecessarily create all these layovers because it doesn't think it's worthy of a nonstop flight in first class. And the divine will always be the nonstop flight in first class. Always. The thing is, though, when we interject with the free will, we don't give a chance to the divine will to do what it's going to do. Meaning, we don't allow our higher selves to coordinate and orchestrate what is highest intended for us. So tonight I want to talk about the difference between divine will and free will. Divine will is linked into the higher self. The higher self doesn't exist within time. It exists outside of this sphere, outside of this construct of time. So your higher self doesn't necessarily have a location. Your higher self is outside of time. It is the angelic aspect or the higher octave of vibration or that higher aspect of your consciousness that stayed behind because it knew that you would forget who you are. And it had a plan for you that you came here to fulfill, a plan, a mission that you came here to achieve. And it's all been preordained. So everything's already been predestined according to the higher self. Your highest timelines are brewing and percolating for you now. So the higher self and the divine will are connected. The higher self doesn't need to make choices. Would you agree? Because the higher self, let me see. I just got a really nice donation. Thank you, Susan. That's very sweet. Thank you, Itchair. And thank you, Princess. The higher self doesn't need to make decisions because free will only exists within the construct of time. Free will is, hey, I have an apple or an orange. Which one do you want? Hey, I have a 1 o'clock or a 4 p.m. Which one do you want? And then you utilize your free will in order to choose, to make a selection. When there's a jukebox or a vending machine, you're like, ooh, there's a Kit Kat and there's a Mars bar and there's a Three Musketeers bar, there's a Snickers bar. Which one should I choose? That's your free will. Because your free will links in with your physical, material existence. It doesn't exist outside of time. Your higher self is non-physical. It doesn't need to make choices. So, I'll repeat that. You have your free will linked to the human that we don't trust, okay? I always say that I don't trust Phil. So Phil isn't going to make choices, okay? Choices are going to be made for Phil by Phil's higher self. My choices are going to be made through me and for me by my higher self without being forceful. Without being forceful. Now, if I get impulse by spirit and inspired by my higher self to do something, I will feel it in my bones. So that's the higher self saying, you need to do this. You need to do that. You need to go on YouTube right now. That's higher self. So the higher self is outside of time. It doesn't need to make decisions. The human needs to make decisions. But the thing about the human is it thinks it's smarter than the higher self. Right? The ego, it's like, think of the ego. It always thinks it's better than other people. It thinks it knows everything. But the human, in comparison to the higher self, knows nothing. And by knowing nothing, you learn everything because you're always in that humble state of, I know nothing. I know nothing. Keep showing me, keep showing me, keep showing me, keep showing me, keep teaching me, keep teaching me. So the higher self is divine will. And what we do as humans is we feel alone, we feel sad, we feel like we want affection. We tell ourselves stories like, I'll always be single the rest of my life, or I don't understand why I haven't found my purpose yet. And then these thoughts crowd into our awareness. I call them intrusive thoughts. I also call them sinister thoughts. I also call them influential thoughts. And they come in to, it's almost like they want to convince us to take action on something that is against the divine will because we think we know. And in actuality, we don't know. And so when we take those actions, it's usually stemming from a place of, I don't trust the divine plan that the universe has for me. Because here's the thing, I have friends, right? They'll date people and I already know, like, that's not the one. You can see that, right? It's so obvious. But in their mind, they're like, well, I just want to move forward and find out if he's the one or she's the one. But that's because they're not linked to the divine will. In their mind, they're like, I'm choosing to explore this connection. And I don't really want to know what's around the corner. I'd rather be surprised. Whereas for Starseeds, we almost see life in reverse. Like, I don't know if you ever feel that way, but I do. Ever since I was young, I would tell my mom, like, why would I go to that party? I already know it's going to be lame. I already knew. It was a knowing. And you can't exactly explain that to people that you just know things, but you just know things. So for me, I can feel into a situation, take its temperature, and I'm like, I can legit see everything that's going to happen within that story. And then I'm like, why would I need to walk through it or play it out physically if I already know vibrationally that it's not a match? So I feel like Starseeds are wired differently because we see life from the future. And people who are still caught in the human and in that ego, and I don't mean that to be condescending, but people who are still in that, they honestly have no clue. They're clueless. So they're like, let me go explore this. And because they don't have access from the bird's eye view, they think there's nothing wrong with it. The truth is, there is nothing wrong with it. But at a certain point, you've got to listen to the friends that you have, and you've got to listen to the people who have more of an objective, matter-of-factly viewpoint on what you're going through. Like if you see that a friend is always like going for the toxic guy or the narcissistic guy, and she's hoping it's going to be different this time, she's just fooling herself. So in a way, that's living in a delusional state of hoping for a different outcome, which is just insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So in a way, that's insanity. But from a human's perspective, by the way, we all have a human aspect, which is why I don't trust my human. So just like I would tell my friends, this is not right for you, I would tell myself the same thing, because I would be able to tell if I'm trying to control it. So you can always tell when you're trying to control it when you pick up your phone and you're like, I'm bored, let me call someone. And everything that you give birth to from that dimensional state or space is going to create a layover in your life. And the ego is very sneaky. The ego is very crafty. The ego is very clever. The ego will actually convince you that you're not creating a layover. It will say, oh, this is harmless. I'm just flirting. Oh, this is, by the way, I do this too. I do this too. I had a tough week this week. But the thing is, I wouldn't want to go through this path any other way, because my whole mission is to relay to you guys what we're all going through. So if I was always in this exalted state and not going through the ups and downs, I wouldn't be personable. I wouldn't be relatable. I actually want to go through all of that mud. I want to drag my feet through the mud, because my observational technology is so online that I can explore and dabble in all of it. Why not? There's nothing wrong with it. There's only something wrong with it if you're judging it. There's nothing wrong with pain. Pain is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing if your eyes are on the prize. If your eyes are on your higher self and you're like, this is happening in my favor. The universe is working on my behalf right now. My angels have my back. They're conspiring to make something magnificent happen. But so many of us go, I'm bored. Let me reach out to this person. And then we open up that timeline, and then we dig a hole for ourselves, and then we have to climb out of that hole, and that takes a while. So you do create these layovers. So what I wanted to tell you tonight is nothing is going wrong. Nothing is going awry. Everything is right on schedule. And if you choose that nonstop first class flight by remaining linked to your divine will, it will catapult you to the highest destination, to the highest timeline. But what we do is so often we act as a dam in the river. We interrupt this divine process that's being organized and orchestrated by our higher selves, because we're like, universe, this is too much. I'm about to short circuit right now. You're not about to short circuit. The universe thinks that you're equipped and you're ready for this massive transformation. You've been a butterfly. Guess what? Ascension is a never-ending spiral. You're going to be the caterpillar again. And right now you're in the middle of growing these new wings that are super beautiful. And in a year, you might become a caterpillar again, because we're always dying and rebirthing and dying and born again. And it's a never-ending process. But I want you to know that you're not alone. And know that your divine will, this intelligence, your higher self, knows a lot more than you do. A lot more. And so ask yourself, before you think about picking up that phone, before you think about texting someone, before you think about meeting up with someone that you know is like forced, ask yourself before you do that, Is it really coming from my higher self? Or is it my human who's dialing? Is it my human who's grabbing my phone? It's your human every time, every time. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, what about action? What about going to work? What about all that? Well, again, you're going to keep playing the game of the free will until you fully trust in the divine plan. You will. And once you completely synchronize and harmonize with that higher aspect of the self, capital S, of the self overseeing your journey, the self always backing you, the self always making sure that it supplies everything you need to internally succeed, meaning this is an inward path. Once you fully trust in that, then you're going to be initiating yourself into a higher level where you don't make choices anymore. I can't possibly explain why I'm feeling the urge all of a sudden to go to Tulum. I didn't feel that urge a week ago. I feel the urge to go to Tulum this week. But I want to make sure it's not stemming from my human. So what I've been doing is I've been looking at little places in Tulum. Okay, let's see what's there, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, my higher self isn't telling me to book, so I'm not going to book. But if it picks up more momentum and my higher self obviously wants me to go, I'm going to go because then it's unavoidable. Do you see what I mean? So I think we lack so much self-worth as humans. And we lack belief in what it is that the universe can concoct for us. I love that word. What it can concoct for us. The universe is magic. Your third eye is a freaking wand. Your third eye isn't only a camera. Your third eye isn't only an ear. Your third eye isn't only a walkie-talkie. Your third eye is a freaking wand. And when you send out a pulse to the universe, when you send out a signal, I want this. Your universe grabbed it. It captured it. It's like, ding. Snap, snap, snap. It knows. So your request has been placed. I always call it the universal jukebox of life. You pick your song, but guess what? That song might be in queue because there's other people that chose a song before you. So it might take a while to get to your song, but you got to trust that it's going to happen and you're going to hear your song. You got to trust the process. And if you have slip-ups, who cares? I slip up I've slipped up on purpose before. I'm very naughty. I'm like, ooh, let's go into the dark abyss. Let's find out what's there. I'm like that. I'm like that. But that's what mystics do. Mystics plunge into this dark ocean and they're like, let's see what's going to eat me. And then they come out like, ah. You know, I'm a mystic. That's what we do as mystics. But I feel like this week is all about relinquishing the control, easing off the gas pedal, easing off your phone and your keyboard. Just ease off and let the universe do what it's going to do. Because by constantly involving yourself and involving other people, you're announcing to the universe that you're not ready for what you want. Because you're not allowing this process to accelerate within your body. You got to let it happen. It's all energy. Energy precedes what materializes. Non-physical comes before physical. So what's non-physical? Your emotions, your energy's in motion. You're feeling all this energy. It's spinning fast and very fast and very fast. And it's horribly uncomfortable. But your speed of vibration has to pick up so that it then manifests in physical form. If you half-ass it, my friends, you're going to get half-ass. You're going to get 3 stops, a shitty meal on the plane, You're not going to get to sleep well. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good, honey. No. You need to pamper yourself. You need to know how worthy you are. That someone is going to waltz into your life and give you all the love and all the affection that you so deserve. That money is just going to pour onto you like rain. It's like, yes, yes. You won't have to work hard for it. But guess what? The trade-off, this is really important, the trade-off. When you choose divine will over free will, all right, think about people who wake up at 6 a.m. every day and they're like, I'm going to get that car. I'm going to get that car. I'm going to get that car. It's a lot of work physically. They have to work from 6 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. just to get a car. That's physical work. That is their free will running the show. I'm choosing to get this car. I'm choosing. The divine will isn't going to be the easier path because the work is going to happen internally. And when you do that work internally with your internet, when you hook up to the internet, to your internal network of starseeds, of all of us, of all the ascended masters that came before us, that will come after us, that we are in the higher planes of existence, when you hook up to that, most of the people over here waking up at 6 a.m., they would be too scared to do this, way too scared. Because you have to strip away all of those additional layers of skin. You have to get rid of all these conventionalities of everything that society tells you have to do in order to be successful. I promise you this, and I'll leave you with this. If you address your path from the inside, because it's an inside job, if you go within yourself and you travel to the depths of your soul and you're willing to face it all, as uneasy, as unpleasant, as freaking disturbing as it might be, the rewards are going to be so immense, you won't even know what to do with yourself. You won't even know what to do with yourself. And I call that feminine spirituality. Feminine spirituality is your working day in and day out, actively, but within yourself. And then when you're in the physical world, everything just magnetizes to you. Just boom, you just attract it. You know, you have your feet up, you're getting a manicure, you're just doing you, and things just arrive because you've already put in the work inside. Masculine spirituality is like, let's go, actionable, 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 actionable. Nothing wrong with it. But to me, feminine spirituality is a lot more potent because you become the magnet. Now, don't get me wrong. When I go meditate, I'm Merlin. I'm using divine masculine energy to push through all these limitations, to use and unleash my imagination, to know that I'm royal. I work with the masculine in meditation. But in my life, it's like, boom, just you've already done your work. Let it come to you. Let it show up. Let it appear. You see what I mean? So I love you guys so much. You are deserving of the nonstop first-class flight to a place that you don't even know you're going to yet because your higher self knows. And your higher self isn't going to disclose that information because it has so many surprises for you. And how boring would it be if it gave you that spoiler? How boring would it be if it ruined your own movie that you're a star of? You are starring in your own movie right now, and your higher self knows the ending, and you do not. And if you know the ending, then you're not reaching high enough. If you know what car you're going to get, you're not reaching high enough, honey. All right? Let the universe dazzle you. Let it freaking blow your mind. Let it knock everything out of the park. Everything. And I like to say this. Let it blow your 3D socks off. Let it blow your third dimensional socks off because you are a fifth dimensional being. You are a multidimensional being of light, and you are not alone. So say goodbye to your little 3D socks. They're just 3D. I love you guys so much. And if you'd like to contribute, I really appreciate it. My link is feelgoodlife.com/donate, feelgoodlife.com/donate. Donations are never expected. They are appreciated. I love you guys so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And I will see you very soon. Much love.